Hi friends, in this session we are going through the topic structure of DBMS. We have already gone through many topics in the DBMS, so don't forget to go through the playlist of the DBMS, and if you like the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Let's start the video. And in the structure of DBMS, first we have to see the overall diagram or the architecture of this DBMS. So here we have naive users, and I'm just what telling the terms what are in this structure, so that you can get a overview about this structure of DBMS. Then we will go through some of the concepts and what are these all in the DBMS, okay, in this structure. Okay, here we have naive users, application users, sophisticated users, DBA. DBA is nothing but database administrators. Okay, these naive users are approaches to the application interface. Application users uses the application programs, and sophisticated users uses the DML tools, and database administrator uses the DDL queries. Who are these naive users? Naive users are the common end users, such like us. We use database, then we can term it as naive users. And application users are the users who uses the application programming interface, like the data structure concepts in the databases, everything. And then sophisticated users are the web-based users who uses the data present in the DBMS, and database administrator is the one who make changes in the DDL queries or any physical level of the data. Okay, here, data application interface is connected to the object-oriented core, and application program is connected to the compiler and linker. And DML tools are connected to the DML compiler. DDL queries are connected to the DDL interpreter. What are all these terms? We will see next with deep about the query processor. This query processor contains all of these terms, and here the main and important term is query evaluation engine. This is the one who handles this query processing very well. And what are all this we will see now. Next we have the storage processor. Here in the storage processor we contains many kinds of storages, like buffer manager, file manager, integrity and authorization manager, transaction manager. This transaction manager maintains the concurrency avoidance of the concurrency control, and integrity and authorization gives a security to the data, and file manager stores the files in the form of folders, and buffer manager makes a cache memory for the not permanent storage, only for the no use storage. And here in the disk storage we have data, indices, data dictionary and statistical data. This statistical data is connected to the DML compiler organizer as well as the transaction manager. And here indices are connected to the file manager and as well as the buffer manager, and data is connected to the buffer manager and file manager. This is all about the disk storage. Now we'll see what are all these query processor and the storage processor and disk storage and what are the terms in that processors. So let's see. So DBMS acts as an interface between the user and the database. The user requests the DBMS to perform various operations like insert, delete and update on the database. The components of the DBMS performs these request operations on the database and provide security to our database. So what this DBMS? DBMS is a interface that is, as we can see in the view level, it becomes a intermediate level between the data as well as the user. So if we wanted to insert, delete or do any sort of operations on our data, then we should cross a medium called database management system. So what this database management system we had already gone through, these help us in doing and making this operation easy and performing these operations easily by maintaining a sequence of these steps by taking these unique IDs. So The components of DBMS perform these requested operations on the database and provide security to our database. So what we want, what operation the end user want or are performed by this database management system, which provides a full-fledged security for our data. And DBMS provides one easy and effective methods of defining the information, storing the information, manipulating the information, protecting the information from the system crashes or data theft, differentiating access permissions for the different users. That is DBMS is very helpful in defining the data. That is what sort of data we can easily define the data, and storing the data, that is we can easily store our data in the form of a primary key or indexing, and then manipulating in the sense of changing or updating the information is easy, and protecting the information in the sense there is a lot of security in the DBMS. System crashes in the sense when there is any sudden aches in our system or any sudden attacks, that is viruses in our system, and our system disposes, then we can DBMS is protected from these data loss as well. And differentiating access permissions for different users, it gives authorizations to certain users and doesn't give authorizations to certain users based on its requirement. Okay, components of DBMS are the like query processor, storage manager, and disk storage. We have already seen these three terms. Now we will see deep into these terms and their terms in which they are differentiated. So first we have the query processor. Query processor is the one who executes query to put in simply. In this way, the query processor aids the data system in making data access simple and easy. So query processor is the one, what it will do is it will make our operation simple as well as easy to perform. That is, if we give any sort of operation like insert operation and deletion operation, what will this query processor do is it will interpret what is that operation and how it will perform that operation simply, and moves this simplified output to the storage manager. As we have already seen in the before diagram, what the query processor do is the query processor analyzes the data and sends it to the storage manager. And here we have certain components as well in the query processor. Some of the components are the DDL interpreter. What is the term DDL represents is data definition language. We have in the sub semesters we have already gone through this data definition language. So it consists of some create, remove, alter commands in it, and it interprets DDL statements like those used in the schema definition such as create, remove, etc. So what this DDL interpreter do is when these terms are used in our data abstraction or data retrieving process of create, remove, these kind of keywords are seen in our syntax, then this DDL interpreter interprets its DDL statements and do makes these operations easy and sends it to the storage manager. Metadata can be stored in the data dictionary. Metadata in the sense data about the data, that is information about the data is stored in the data dictionaries. And then DML compiler. DML stands for data manipulation language. These DML commands interprets the DML statements. DML statements like select, update, delete in low level instructions to enable execution. So DML compiler identifies the DML statements like select, update, and delete, and DDL interpreter interprets the or identifies these DDL statements like create, remove, etc. And DML compiler organizer is the one which is embedded with the DML pre-compiler. What it will do is it will embed the application program with the DML compiler. What is this application program and DML compiler is? This DML compiler organizer will use the process to run faster this DML, that is data manipulation language, embedded in the precompiler. So it is also termed as the embedded DML precompiler. And DML statements which are embedded in an application program must be converted into routine calls by the embedded DML precompiler. Next we have a query evaluation engine. Query evaluation is the main thing that is very helpful in the query processor. It takes out all the outputs from the DDL interpreter, DML compiler and DML organizer and compiler and linker, everything. And what it will do is it will take all outputs and sends it to the storage manager. Between this query processor and storage manager there is a medium called query evaluation engine. This takes all the outputs from the query processor and sends it to the storage manager. So what it will do is it evaluates the SQL commands used in accessing the data content before returning the result of the query. So before returning the overall result of the query, what it will do is it will access the overall SQL commands present in the query processor. Then it will return the value which is to be used by the storage manager. Here query evaluations engines are like Apache Drill and Presto, etc. These are some of the query evaluation engines. And next we have the storage manager. The term itself indicates that it is to store our managed data. And first we are going to also term it as data control system. If we manage our data properly and if we store our data properly, then we can observe this data control system. So it's also termed as data control system. It maintains database consistency and integrity. So the effectiveness of the data and the more retrieval of the data can be seen by this storage manager. It is in the charge of storing, retrieving, updating, and removing data from the database. So, if there is a correct management and correct storage of data, then the storing, retrieving, and updating the data of the database can be very easy and simple. So, these storage manager can help us in storing, retrieving, and making all these operations possible and very easy to do as well. Then components of storage manager. The storage manager have certain components as we have seen in the diagram. First we have buffer manager. The transfer of the data between primary and the main memory and managing the cache memory is done by the buffer manager. So data which is to be stored permanently is to be stored in the main memory, but the data which we want for the little use or we want only for specific necessary use, it should be stored in the cache memory. If the data is not stored if we want some data which is stored in the cache memory, then we can certainly approach to this buffer manager. Okay. Then we have the file manager. All files and data structures of the database are managed in this component. So our database structures or database management, how the data is stored, what the components are used, all are seen by this file manager. Integrity manager is nothing but whenever there is any change in the database, the integrity manager will manage the integrity constraints. We will see about this integrity constraints in further classes in the second and third units. Integrity constraints are nothing but a keys used to manage some of the conditions in our SQL and the data, so that there is no data inconsistency and redundancy can be reduced. And authorization manager is verifies user that he is valid and authenticated for the specific query or request, that is he is eligible or not for this data manipulation and redundant and retrieval. These database management system checks whether the user is eligible, then authorizes it with the data. Then we have transaction manager. It is responsible for managing the database consistent before and after the transaction. So what this transaction manager will do is it will check the database consistency. Consistency means its accuracy and as well as the accurateness of these transaction. If we perform this transaction, is this any uh, affected, is there any affected to the data or any changes, redundancy will become or not. This transaction manager will take care all of these kind of things. And concurrent processes are generally constructed by this component. Concurrent processes is nothing but concurrent transactions. If a transaction is performed now, and one person is transferring transaction to the same account can also be done. These process of multiple transaction is concurrent processing, and these can be controlled by this transaction manager. And next we have the disk storage. What is the term disk storage is? By this DBMS can implement physical system of the data like data structures. So application programs can be made easy by this disk storage. How is it possible? Let's see. Following are the components of the disk storage. In disk storage, we have certain components in which first one is data dictionary. It contains the metadata as we have already seen before. Metadata is nothing but a data of data, which means we can each object of the database has some information about its structure. So, the physical system of the data, that is data structure application, can have objects and indexes in which databases information can be stored. What data and how the information is stored, this kind of information can be seen in the data dictionaries. And data files is nothing but these components stores the data in the files. Like it's same in the sense of a file manager. As file manager stores the records, it will stores directly in the overall database data. Okay. Next, indices. These indices are used to access and retrieve the data in a very fast and effective way. So if we, as we have already seen in the linked list is connected on the basis of their index values. These index values can help us in retrieving our data fastly and as well as effectively. These index values are nothing but primary keys in our relational model. So we'll see this in our further videos. Don't worry about this. Statistical data, it maintains the statistical information of the database user. Statistical information in the sense, if we wanted to retrieve a data, if we wanted to book a ticket for a train, for traveling from traveling from the Hyderabad to Bangalore, then what we will see is we're going to reserve in the registration of the train, like railways or everything. And here we can see that a number of seats available. How this number of seats available can be shown and what are the concept behind this is statistical data. And what are the losses and profits got in our business can also be identified as statistical data. The statistical data is nothing but experienced data that is based on our practical history base. It will give some of the maintenance of the database. Okay, this is about the statistical data. Now this is all about the structure of DBMS. Now in the further classes we will see more topics about the DBMS. If you have not gone through this DBMS playlist, please go through it. And if you like the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.